So if you're new to the series, you'll know that I'm breaking down the Fellowship of the Ring chapter by chapter. I have no idea how this video is going to go, guys. All of my notes that I have for my previous, kind of chapters are around 400 words long, and this one is 800. There's so much here. There's so much packed into the Council of Elrond. It is a chapter that has to give a lot of exposition. It has to tell Gandalf's backstory as far as what he's been doing, the things that he didn't tell Frodo in chapter 2. We have to find out what happened to Gollum. We have to introduce Boromir and Gimli and Legolas. We have to set up a fellowship. We have to show the audience that destroying the ring is the only viable option, even though it may seem foolish. And we have to set this, this whole endeavor on its quest, all with a lot of crazy exposition. I personally think this is one of the best chapters in Lord of the Rings because it could have been such an info dump. But like always, it's wrapped in character. We have the character of Boromir, who's very skeptical. He's a new character to the story. He's very skeptical about Aragorn, and he's very skeptical about why they need to destroy the ring. We have characters like Legolas and Gimli, who elves and dwarves, they're pretty much frenemies in a way. They're not going to actively fight each other, but they don't like each other, and so we have to start setting up a little bit of their relationships and dynamics, even though it's extremely subtle in this chapter. We have to again find out where Gollum is, because that does become important later on, and we have to really see why is it so important that this ring be destroyed. And I think Tolkien does this so well because he makes us understand the necessity of it. We have all these different kind of important people, so to speak, the wise of this world. Not all of them, but even the ones who couldn't be there sent emissaries. For example, Boromir is there on the behalf of his father, Denethor, who is the steward of Gondor. Of course, Gondor is the kingdom that Aragorn is the rightful ruler of. He's the heir to the throne of Gondor, but that line was broken many years ago. I did a video a few videos back where I explained how Strider / Aragorn could still be the rightful heir even though the line was broken. But stewards are in place to be caretakers of the throne. So Denethor, who we'll meet in book 3, he sent his son Boromir to be an emissary for this event, for this meeting. We have Thranduil, who is the Elven King from The Hobbit, sent his son Legolas. We have, from the dwarves, we have Gimli and Gloin going on behalf of the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain. So you have all the races represented. You have various elves of high knowledge and wisdom there. So it's not just a random kind of throwaway scene. We're just going to exposition dump. It makes sense in the story. The characters know that the ring has been found, and they know that they need to make a choice on it. And they debate lots of things. They say, can't we just cast it into the deepest depths of the ocean? Surely it won't be found. But of course, the argument there is, well, these things have a way of being found, rings of power. The ring is kind of its own entity, which maybe isn't living and breathing, but it found its way and back into the hands of civilization once before when it shouldn't have. Why can't it again? So for that reason, it's shot down. But then there's the arguments that are like, well, if the ring is so powerful, maybe we should just take it and use it. And of course, that's kind of Boromir's argument because his country is literally on the front lines of war with Mordor, the war that's coming and the skirmishes that have already happened and the battles that have been fought for millennium past. So he feels almost a right in a way to bring the ring to Gondor to help them against the enemy. If you look at a map here, you can see that Gondor literally is on the doorstep of Mordor. So if anyone has a right to say, my people need the ring, it would probably be him. So the question that's asked is best actually served from the emissary of Sauron, who sent presumably a dark rider to the dwarves of Erebor. He calls it the least of all rings, a ring that Sauron merely trifles. And Gandalf kind of flips that on his head and says, what shall we do with the ring? The least of all rings, the trifle that Sauron fancies. This is the doom that we must deem. And Elrond backs that up by saying, I have seen 3 ages in the west of the world, and many defeats and many fruitless victories. What Elrond is trying to say here is that he has seen victory come, but the results not pay off in the way that we hope. He was there when Sauron was defeated the very first time, 2,000-3,000 years ago. He was there when Isildur took the ring from Sauron's hand, and he was there when Isildur failed to destroy the ring in the fires of Mount Doom. He understands what it's like to be on the cusp, on the precipice of victory, but not succeed. And he is determined to do whatever is possible to make sure that even if they choose the most, quote, foolish option, it's still the option that if it succeeds, will be the death of evil. Maybe not evil in every, incarnation, but the end of the reign of the Dark Lord Sauron. That is what was not accomplished the first time, that fruitless victory, and that's what they're trying to accomplish this time. And the characters, indicate that, if Isildur hadn't been killed, he may have gone down the road of being a Dark Lord himself. So one of the characters even says, basically, it's, I hate saying this, but it's probably a good thing that Isildur died when he did, because, he may have destroyed the world as we knew it then by becoming a Dark Lord himself. We know that the ring grants kind of unlimited life in a way. It doesn't grant more years or more age, it just makes the wearer continue. So he would have continued for centuries and basically become a wraith like Sauron in the end, or basically claimed the ring enough to become a Dark Lord. So it's, it stinks, but it was good when the characters are saying that Isildur died when he did, so that they do have this opportunity to decide what to do with the ring again. The wise also say this: "And it is not our part here to take thought only for a season, or for a few lives of men, or for a passing age of the world. We should seek a final end of this menace, even if we do not hope to make one." That is some courage there. Basically saying that we could take the easy road. We could just duke it out with Sauron for a while. We could cast the ring into the depths of the ocean the easy way. We could do that easily. We could just ride over to the Great Havens on the western banks of Middle-earth, sail a ship out and drop the ring and call it a century. But no, they're dedicated to see the salvation of this world. And it's even more powerful because one of the characters says something a few chapters later, near the end of this book, that, and I don't want to spoil it for you who haven't read it, but it's alluded to that regardless of how things turn out, victory or defeat, the elves are on the decline, but they're still willing to put their all into saving this world as much as possible. The elves can flee Middle-earth. They are the people that can go west to the Grey Havens. It's like a seaport at the edge of Middle-earth, and they can take a ship. They can go back to Valinor and live there. And many of the elves do, but many of them don't as well, because they see that they have a responsibility on Middle-earth. They are inhabitants of Middle-earth just as much as hobbits and dwarves and men, and they're willing to see it through, whatever the cost. And of course, the decision that's made is the foolish choice that could confound the wise. We must take a hard road, a road unforeseen. There lies our hope, if hope it be. We must send the ring to the fire. Let folly be our cloak, a veil before the eyes of the enemy. The characters understand that Sauron, in his greed and pride and power and sheer evilness, cannot imagine a scenario where they would seek to destroy the ring. I think he knows that the ring was lost, but he wasn't destroyed when it very could have easily been 3,000 years ago. And it's not entered into his darkest, thoughts and dreams that they would seek to destroy this ring of power. Sauron is so caught up in his own, the power that he sought for thousands of years, in the time even before he was the Dark Lord, so to speak. He's consumed by power. So the decision here is, let's do the one thing he's not expecting, even though it has almost no chance of success. Like, we have to take the ring into the impenetrable land of Mordor that's surrounded by mountains of all sides. There is evil there that does not sleep. It's a barren wasteland riddled with fire and ash and dust. I'm quoting the Lord of the Rings movie because they kind of condensed a few lines and kind of thoughts to kind of give the idea of why this is such a bad idea. Countless orcs. There's no way an army could break forth into Mordor to defeat the ring. Like, Sauron would know what's going on and they would be crushed. The only way is secrecy. The only way is to take a small band of people and sneak into Mordor and destroy the ring. That's folly. There's no way that can work. But that's the route they choose because they understand the pride of the enemy, and that in order for this to work, they have to do something foolish, something unexpected. Like they say, let folly be our cloak. They're literally hiding under the fact that Sauron will have no idea that they're planning on doing this. So Sauron is not looking for this endeavor at all. That doesn't make it any less dangerous because the evil doesn't sleep and the evil is everywhere. And if they're, surrounded and caught, the enemy will reclaim the ring and all will be lost. But the only measure that he knows is desire for power. And so he judges all hearts. Into his heart, the thought will not enter that any will refuse it. Having the ring, we may seek to destroy it. If we seek this, we shall put him out of reckoning. And because of that, it makes sense for Frodo to be the one to carry the ring. He understands this. He understands that hobbits are more resilient in heart and mind and soul than men or dwarves or even elves. He understands that in order for someone to bear this ring for a long period of time, it has to be a hobbit. I don't know if he could say it in so many words, but he understands that he has been chosen, not by his peers, not by the wise, but that the ring has come to him by the guidance of a greater power, and it is up to him and it is his responsibility and his choice to carry on this task. And it's very important that he choose. No one can be coerced to do this, to go on this crazy endeavor, because then the temptation to use the ring to get out of bad circumstances would be too strong. It needs to be someone who understands the risk, and someone who's carried the ring long enough, who understands the temptations of the ring, but someone who's not carried it for so long that he's already, falling to the whims and the wiles of the enemy. And the wise do realize this at the end. This is the hour of the Shire folk, when they arise from their quiet fields to shake the towers and councils of the great. Who of all the wise could have foreseen it? Or if they are wise, why should they expect to know it until the hour has struck? I think in his heart, Gandalf probably knew that Frodo would be the one to carry the ring, but I still think for him it's a little bit of a surprise in a way. And he says so in the next chapter as well, that the only kind of real surprise of the whole meeting was Frodo. But at the same time, you get the vibe that Gandalf knows that this could happen. And he accepts it. Gandalf in his wisdom accepts that he probably, the strongest person there cannot carry this ring that far. He will be destroyed by it because the lust for power for the greater good will be too strong. He's already had this conversation basically with Saruman, not destroying the ring, but the end does not justify the means, because that's exactly what Saruman, the other wizard, is trying to say. He knows that it has to be Frodo. When Frodo says, "I will take the ring," Gandalf knows that that's the way it has to be. So this video is already getting long. I still have a ton more notes, but I'm not going to go into them now. I'll save that for another time. Let me know your thoughts. This chapter trips a few people up just by its sheer length. I think there's so much we can learn about characters and culture. And really, this is a turning point in the plot, because the characters have to make a choice. And at this point, we understand the risk. We understand what will happen if the characters fail. And we understand that this is the only way to basically save Middle-earth. So Tolkien does a lot in this chapter. Let me know your thoughts below on what you think about this chapter, and I will see you tomorrow for the chapter, The Ring Goes South.